It's right here.
Discuss a diagnosis, a prognosis, and treatment with a woman's husband, who they believe would be better able to handle this information, process it, make decisions if decisions had to be made.
It may also be that the cancer was sufficiently far enough advanced that he figured, well, there's nothing much we can do about this. We've done what we can. But, in the process, he denied her 6 months of potential treatment that might have mitigated the cancer or might have extended her life.
Carson's first thought was for her privacy. Somehow I have no wish to read of my ailments in literary gossip columns, she told a friend. Too much comfort to the chemical companies.
She was sure that she would be accused of having written the book as retribution against the chemical industry on the unfounded allegation that pesticides cause cancer.
Oh.
She understood this was a serious risk, and this would be a point of attack against her.
I think he is dead asleep. I finished. No, he's not unconscious.
The months that followed were
Asian, you awake?
Radiation treatments, a flare-up of her ulcer.
You can leave him alone.
Progressed to septic arthritis in her knees and ankles.
You said it was okay to use
By
the
the end of
website?
January 1961, she was unable to walk and could barely stand.
Darling, you know my high hopes for the goal I might meet by March. Hopes I entertained last October. Now I look back at the complete and devastating wreckage of those plans. Not only no writing for months, but the nearly complete loss of any creative feeling or desire. Sometimes I wonder whether the author even exists anymore.
I think she handled it as well as she could. The only negative thing I would have to say about it, in retrospect, was she wasn't honest enough with me about it. Although who knows whether that would have been a good thing.
Can I go on the whole read what I wrote?
It was
Yes,
kind of a broken time. To her research files on cancer, Carson now began to save clippings on experimental treatments and improbable miracle cures. She would never be truly healthy again. But as soon as the radiation treatments were finished, she went back to work. The book became a race for her to finish. That was the one time where it would impact on us, and that, she would say, I have to go and lock myself in the study, and you have to go and use yourself. And that's just the way it is. And that got more and more intense as time went on. In late January 1962, nearly 4 years after she'd begun to write, Carson finally submitted the bulk of the manuscript to both Houghton Mifflin and the New Yorker. It was, she wrote Dorothy, like reaching the last station before the summit of Everest. William Shawn called as soon as he finished reading. Silent Spring, he told her, was a brilliant achievement. That night, while listening to her favorite violin concerto alone in her study, Carson wept.
Darling, I could never again listen happily to a thrush song if I had not done all I could. And last night, the thoughts of all the birds and other creatures and all the loveliness that is in nature came to me with such a surge of deep happiness that now I had done what I could. I had been able to complete it. Now it had its own life.
On June 16, 1962, as the elements of Silent Spring were being prepared for publication, the first New Yorker installment arrived on the newsstands, and with its opening paragraphs, lured readers into a fertile world of plenty.
There was once a town in the heart of America where all life seemed to live in harmony with its surroundings. The town lay in the midst of a checkerboard of prosperous farms with fields of grain and hillsides of orchards, where in spring, white clouds of bloom drifted above the green fields.
The birds sing and the woods are filled with living things, and it's an abundant, happy place. Then suddenly the residents discovered the birds are gone and the animals have died and many of the plants have withered.
People start to get sick for reasons that can't be explained. Livestock have stunted offspring. Everything goes bad.
In the gutters under the eaves and between the shingles of the roofs, a few patches of white granular powder could be seen. Some weeks earlier, this powder had been dropped, like snow, upon the roofs and the lawns, the fields and the streams. No witchcraft, no enemy action had snuffed out life in this stricken world. The people had done it themselves.
She creates an image of silence. What would it be like if you woke up in the morning and you went outside and instead of hearing birds chirp or sing, you heard nothing? And that's so amazingly powerful, right? And just, it stops you in your tracks.
In the zealous quest for mastery, Carson argued, synthetic pesticides had been used indiscriminately, excessively, heedlessly, upsetting the delicate balance of nature and putting all life at risk.
She felt that proponents of widespread pesticide use were conducting an experiment with life itself without having done adequate testing or research to determine what the consequences might be, and that the citizenry weren't being informed because the proponents of pesticides were telling them only one side of the story and the one that benefited their own interests. And so all of these things are part of the Cold War consensus by which Americans lived. The benevolence of corporations, the authority of science. Well, Carson's challenging all of those things.
The furor arose even before the second and third installments of Silent Spring hit the newsstands. The New Yorker was deluged with letters. So too was the USDA. Most of those who wrote, an agency spokesman told the New York Times, expressed horror and amazement that the use of such toxic chemicals was even permitted.
She raised the level of awareness of the general public of all of these chemical applications and why we need to think about their implications. People were deeply moved and frightened by what she said.
Scientists for the chemical industry and the USDA were incensed by Carson's assertions. What, they wondered publicly, was the death of a songbird against the possibility of ending malaria or world hunger? As one industry chemist put it, DDT alone has saved as many human lives over the past 15 years as all the wonder drugs combined.
Station, where you going?
The proponents of pesticides argue that you have to take risks to go forward. That's very much part of our scientific technological culture.
They saw themselves as doing something in the higher good. They were fostering human development. They were killing plagues. They were making the world a better place.
Carson herself acknowledged there was this benefit through the use of pesticides. But the whole point of her argument is that there's been a kind of an assumption, a rush. The benefits were obvious, so people rushed to take advantage of those benefits. But there were these other problems that were maybe not as obvious, but actually might outweigh the benefits.
By August, with the publication of the book still more than a month away, the controversy over Silent Spring had reached the nation's capital, and a special science advisory committee had been convened to review all federal policies on pesticides.
Lock in.
On August 28th, the subject even found its way into one of the president's regular televised press conferences.
There appears to be growing concern among scientists that the possibility
No, I think I
of
do.
dangerous long-range side effects from the widespread use of DDT and other pesticides. Have you considered asking the Department of Agriculture or the Public Health Service to take a closer look at this?
Yes, and I know that they already are. I think particularly, of course, it's Ms. Carson's book, but they are examining the matter.
Hey, come on in.
You can only imagine how worried the people who made these pesticides were. When President Kennedy said, yeah, we're going to look into this, we're going to reach in to the private
You're not in
sector
this class.
and see if we can regulate these products in a different way. That was a threat. That's a threat to the bottom
Did you
line.
answer those
That's a
questions,
threat
Jack?
to the business that these companies
You're
were
awesome.
in.
Nice job.
They formed essentially a war council to get together and develop a propaganda campaign to discredit Carson, to discredit the science in her book, and to defend their practices.
From public relations departments throughout the chemical industry, now came a flood of bulletins and brochures which emphasized the benefits of pesticides. The Monsanto Company, an industry leader, papered news outlets across the country with a spoof of Silent Spring's opening chapter, in which a pesticide-free world loses millions to yellow fever and malaria.
She dines on healthy blood, and in payment leaves the chills and fever of malaria.
And crop-ravaging insects drive humanity to the brink of famine. Silent Spring, critics charged, was a high-pitched, emotional, scientifically indefensible screed. To heed Carson's call for restraint, it was argued, meant nothing less than the end of all human progress.
There is this sort of real tension between this understanding of chemical sciences as a sort of hyper-masculine, lab-intensive research that produces these wonderful technologies, and these scientists who work in nature, who examine issues over the long term, but who really aren't scientists. They're sort of like a cult. And having a woman at this particular moment being the lead spokesperson of that kind of idea really chafed and made chemical scientists really angry.
The idea that this woman, this woman with a master's degree, that she knows something that we don't know, you just see their condescension towards her in their just really dismissive approach and their misrepresentation of her work. They try to accuse her of rejecting modernity, of being unrealistic, of wanting to ban all pesticides. None of which are true, but it's a way to try to discredit her and discredit the argument, and it's a way to not even have the argument.
Concerned the attacks from industry scientists created the impression that the science was all on the other side. Carson prevailed upon Houghton Mifflin to publish a rebuttal to her critics.
The commercial, monetary, political resources that the agencies and the businesses that were arrayed against her could command were daunting indeed, but many scientists strongly supported Carson and accepted her case and contributed to it.
The worst thing you could say about Silent Spring is actually a compliment. It's not a work of science. And that's true. It's not a work of science. It's a work of science communication. She is communicating to us what scientists have to say, and she's communicating the meaning of that scientific work. She makes clear what's at stake. And that's her great gift.
In the end, Silent Spring flew off the shelves. Within 2 weeks of its official publication on September 27, 65,000 copies had been sold. Before long, it was a runaway bestseller. Every major publication in the country reviewed the book. More than 70 newspapers also ran editorials. Carson, meanwhile, was the subject of so many magazine articles and cartoons that she and Roger began to collect. Absent from all the publicity was the fact that Carson's cancer had spread to the right side of her body, and that she was once again undergoing radiation treatments. Inundated with interview requests, Carson agreed that fall to only 2 that involved cameras, a profile in Life magazine, and an appearance on CBS Reports with Eric Severin. For both, she wore a heavy dark wig she'd purchased at Elizabeth Arden. The 2-day interview session with CBS at her home in Silver Spring was so taxing that it became plain to Severide that Carson was ill. Get the piece on the air as soon as possible, he urged his producer. You've got a dead leading lady.
Carson was determined as a young girl. She was determined to get an education. She was determined to be a writer. She was determined to find something to write about. And in Silent Spring, she was determined that this message would get out. She's willing to endure almost everything to get that message out.
My text this afternoon is taken from the Globe Times of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, a news item in the issue of October 12th. After describing in detail the reactions to Silent Spring of the farm bureaus in 2 Pennsylvania counties, the reporter continued, no one in either county farm office who was talked to today had read the book, but all disapproved of it heartily.
In early December 1962, in an address to the Women's National Press Club, Rachel Carson finally answered her critics, challenging the industry's contention that chemicals are never used unless tests have shown them to be safe. She reminded her audience that pesticide manufacturers finance the studies of their own product safety.
I know that many thoughtful scientists are deeply disturbed that their organizations are becoming fronts for industry. Is industry becoming a screen through which facts must be filtered so that the hard, uncomfortable truths are kept back and only the harmless morsels are allowed to filter through? The tailoring, the screening of basic truth is done to accommodate to the short-term gain to serve the gods of profit and production.
She is calling for the population to understand that money has a great deal to do with what's done in science. She says we need to ask who speaks and why. What is done in the name of science, and why doesn't the public have a right to know? These are not just scientific questions. These are questions that a social revolutionary asks.
These are matters of the most serious importance to society, and I commend their study to you as professionals in the field of communication. Thank you.
Unable to silence Carson, the chemical industry lobbied hard to muzzle the forthcoming CBS special on Silent Spring. In March, just weeks before the program was slated to air, the network was flooded with mimeographed letters urging fairness, a campaign orchestrated, CBS assumed, by the chemical industry lobby. Then, just days before the broadcast, 2 of the show's 5 commercial sponsors pulled out, followed swiftly by a third. CBS was undaunted. And on the evening of Wednesday, April 3rd, 1963, the silent spring of Rachel Carson was beamed into living rooms all across the country.
Good evening. We are living in what has been called the synthetic age, the age of the atom, the missile, the frozen TV dinner. In the next hour, you will hear that this is also the age of the wormless apple and the calculated whisk. Do you know how long the pesticides persist in the water once they get into it?
Not entirely.
Do you know the extent to which our groundwater may be contaminated right now by pesticides?
We don't know that either, nor do we know.
As the program unfolded, a welter of scientists and government officials, as well as Carson herself, argued the pros and cons of synthetic pesticides. In the end, one fact was clear. For every scientific certainty, there was a host of unanswered questions.
We have to remember that children born today are exposed to these chemicals from birth, perhaps even before birth. Now, what is going to happen to them in adult life as a result of that exposure? We simply don't know, because we've never before had this kind of experience.
A spokesman for the chemical industry, Dr. Robert White Stevens.
Ms. Carson is concerned with every I'm hoping some of you guys are listening to this, but this is very much similar to what's happening with artificial intelligence right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen the Neo robot? Like the chore one?
That's what it actually is. It's just somebody in like another room with a.
Well, no, that's a mode actually.
Now, there's a company that just released a new robot that it's designed to do house chores.
Yeah, it can operate on its own, but there's a mode on it where you can switch to a guy controlling it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But it is a robot that can do chores without help.
The point I'm getting at is that all of these scientists and Rachel Carson are sitting here talking about the pros and cons of pesticides. Mm-hmm. And her point is, you know, we're seeing negative effects in certain species, but we don't know what the extent or the severity of those species are going to be. In that, she's like, we've never had to deal with this before, right? Like, we've never had all of these pesticides being sprayed all over the place, so we don't really know what's going to happen. And it's similar, I parallel it with AI, because right now, as helpful and also as annoying as artificial intelligence can be, we don't truly know what's really going to happen with it 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
It's a technology that is evolving exponentially based on how much data we can provide these AI servers to where they can learn more and learn more and learn more. You know, is it going to get to a point where the AI turns against us? It very well could. That might take a while, but if you look at the way human beings behave, if you were a robot that was, or you were another form of intelligence, and your goal is to keep the planet alive, a good idea would be to probably get rid of the humans, because the humans are the ones that are really harming the planet. Mm-hmm. The animals aren't really harming it. Mm-hmm. You know, the plants aren't harming it. It's us. So what better way to get rid of ourselves than to create technology that will just destroy us? Very much like The Matrix. Anybody ever seen The Matrix?
Yeah, I love The Matrix. I saw all 4 Matrix movies.
We're kind of starting to move into that realm, which is a little scary. So be thinking about that.
Fourth one's lame. The first 3 are great, though.
Yeah, the first one's unbelievable.
First one's good. Second is mid.
Third is also mid. They're both. I think second and third are equally as good.
I need your help breaking purple's bad.
The fourth one's trash, bro.
Is it?
So bad.
Will you slide this way so I can see the... Try to get my cursor over here. There you go. Thanks, man.
To try one time.
Okay, so don't see the fourth one. That's good advice.
Don't watch the fourth, but the first 3 are good.
The second one was good.
But take
the third one's also pretty decent. I mean, I like the...
I never saw the third one either.
It is good.
That's fine. I'll take it.
Like, it closes out pretty much everything.
Fourth one's just a cash grab.
Oh, really?
Where are you?
Lame.
Is that the one with the architect, or is that the like where the architect comes into the play, the Matrix architect? Which one's that?
Got it.
Not sure.
I feel like that might be 3 because I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
Fourth one, it's like they say this at the beginning of the movie.
Let's see if I can
They're
quickly
like,
speedrun Light Blue.
It was all a dream.
Hey, did you?
Right.
All look at
Right.
it. Does not look like that. Keanu Reeves is actually a video game.
The game, though.
Well, it's not all a dream. It's just that he was tricked. Oh.
It was, but they don't have a bed to realize he's designing a game called The Matrix. I didn't see it back then.
No, they don't.
Cornwall.
Oh, wait, they do.
And then it turns out
No, they
the
don't.
Matrix is tricking him into believing.
With the trash.
Okay.
Did you
I
never
just
see
go
go
up.
up?
Do not have blocks.
Oh, Morpheus
It's fine. I
is
broke
done
it anyway.
Oh, really? Okay.
He was like, "Oh, I changed my body." I was like, "Man, you just got rid of the actor. He's still alive."
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
All
right, guys, let's get packed up. Thank you for getting your work turned in. If you turned it in, otherwise.